Hi everyone, welcome to the next webinar in 12D's training webinar series. My name is Lisa Stewart and I'm the Marketing and Communications Coordinator at 12D Solutions. 12D's training webinars showcase common industry challenges, taking a close look at industry best practices and how these can be implemented using 12D products. The aim of these webinars is to upskill 12D users and broaden their understanding of the capabilities of 12D products. We run these webinars regularly and record them for posting through our website and on YouTube. The previous webinars from this training series, as well as the webinars from our Industry Solutions series, are all available on our YouTube channels if you missed those. During this presentation, you'll be able to type your questions along the way, as shown on the screen, and we'll answer as many as possible throughout the webinar. At the end, I'll read out some of your questions to the presenter for his insights if there's time. Today's webinar will be presented by Dylan Revell, a Regional Sales Manager for 12DNZ with nearly 20 years of experience in civil engineering practice, land development, drainage and construction. Today's presentation, Multipage Plots Overview, will provide a brief overview of the multi-page plot sheet functionality in 12D model. So what is a multi-page plot sheet? What does it create? How does it work? And the node and subnode structures. Dylan will also take us through brief introductions to referenced subnodes and CSV drawing registers, both of which will be covered in more detail during a future webinar. Over to you, Dylan.
Thank you, Lisa, for that introduction, and welcome today to everybody present for today's webinar, which is the multi-page plot sheet overview. There's going to be two parts to the webinar today. The first one will be just a brief PowerPoint slideshow taking you through the points of the webinar, and the second part of the webinar will be a live demonstration. So starting off, today's webinar, what's going to be included? It's a brief overview of the multi-page plot sheet, or an MPS as I'll refer to it for the rest of the day. This includes what is an MPS file, what does an MPS create, how does it work, node and subnode structures, introduction to reference subnodes. In detail they will be covered in a future webinar, and an introduction to CSV drawing registers. Again, this will also be included in detail in a future webinar. So what is an MPS? An MPS is a single area for production and editing of plotted outputs from 12D model data. It's controlled by an independent file, so this can be applied or referenced or saved away in a user library and applied to many projects. So the whole idea is users do not have to start their plotted output from scratch every single time. It's a unified method for 12D model plot types production, and at times it's a radical upgrade to traditional plotting practices in the civil and surveying community. So why do we develop the MPS? Well, even though BIM and digital data transfer is becoming the industry standard, some workflows and some territorial authorities unfortunately still require plotted outputs, example for plans or as constructed certification rather than the digital model. 12D model has been used for a long time in all types of plot generation as the one-stop shop for all of their plotted output, but some users still rely on expensive third-party software just to create the plotted output. We knew there was a smarter way to do many manual processes in a plotting workflow, and we wanted to develop a one source of truth solution between the digital model and the plotted output. So the digital model change is instantly reflected in the plotted output being through the MPS. So what does an MPS create? The MPS can be used to create and control all new and historical 12D model outputs. This includes plans, plot frames, long sections and cross sections, water node diagrams, 3D PDF output, but with the advantage of being able to have your revision control and sign-off standards with title block information. It creates single or multi-page PDF files, and plan PDF files are georeference files. Now this happens automatically already in all of the 12D Model 14 plan generation, so these are quite handy. Any PDF files are georeferenced so they can be uploaded into different applications and used in conjunction with the GPS for some real-time navigation out on site. Now one question we are asked is, why does the MPS only produce PDF files? Well, it's quite simple. Our industry is further maturing, adopting BIM and digital data transfer culture, so the MPS is made for this. In particular, the plotted output is an automated snapshot of the actual one source of truth model at the time of the output. The PDF files are unlikely to be accidentally edited, leading to mistakes and constructional divergence from the model. And then we run on to what is an MPS structure. So an MPS is contained within a file and 12D model with the 12D MPSF extension. It's built on an XML-based format, but we do not recommend editing outside of the 12D model MPS interface. It's been developed as a separate file, so these base files that you might set up for different operations within your industry or within your workflow can be saved as library files and consumed over multiple projects. So you never have to start from scratch, which is the most important thing. Okay, let's have a look at the MPS structure. The basic structure of an MPS is as follows. It all starts with a book. The book is the top level and contains all nodes and subnodes and different items within an MPS plotted output. Inside the book, we have chapters. These chapters will mean different things to different organizations and different industries. Say, for example, the book contained in the MPS file was a set of engineering drawings. One chapter may be for the roading output and another chapter may be for the services or the stormwater output. And underneath the chapter we have pages. So each chapter contains any number of pages with different content which are relevant to those chapters. Okay, an MPS book. An MPS book is the top node of an MPS file. You can plot every chapter and page at once from a book level. And subnodes can be attached to the book level and passed through to chapters or pages. Book settings are automatically passed to chapters, and pages, example the sheet size and the preview size, can be obtained from a book level. In chapters, a chapter is a subnode of an MPS file. You can plot all of the pages in a chapter if desired. Subnodes can be attached at a chapter level and passed across to the pages. And chapter settings are automatically passed to the pages, i.e. sheet size and preview size, etc. Whole chapters can be copied and pasted within the single book. An MPS page is a subnode of a chapter. You can plot a single page when required. Subnodes can be attached at a page level. And pages and reference subnodes can be copied and pasted into its own chapter or into other chapters. Now looking at the subnodes. A subnode can be attached or referenced at a book, chapter, or a page level. Subnode types include title blocks, frames, text, symbols, and models. So we're going to have a look at each one of those in brief. So title block subnodes. Multiple title blocks can be referenced within a single MPS file. This means that you can have multiple different sheet sizes and even sheet orientations can be set up within a single MPS. Title block data can easily be created inside 12D model. We're going to go into this in detail in a separate webinar for creating and editing title blocks. And title block data can be automatically populated either from the MPS information like the scale or from a drawing register, which will be detailed or gone through in detail in a separate webinar. Title blocks and information can be referenced from a higher level. Text subnodes. Text can either be free placed, historically what you're probably used to, placing a piece of text over a particular area inside the plotted output, or these can be referenced to frames within the page. Text content can either be typed or automatically populated with MPS information, for example, the frame title and the frame scale. Text placement information can be referenced from a higher node level. Example, you could get book level text, and that can appear on every single page and every single chapter if desired. Okay, then on to symbol subnodes. Symbols can be either free-placed manually or they can be referenced to frames within the page. And the parameters for these symbols can either be entered manually or automatically populated with MPS information. For example, a north point orientation can either be entered manually or they're taken from the frame orientation. And symbol placement and information can be referenced from a higher node level, i.e. a symbol can be attached at a chapter level, and these symbols can appear on every page in a chapter if desired. Model subnodes. Now model subnodes, they're a great way to automatically populate 12D model information. So that could be text, it could be line work, it could be symbols or anything that you like, and these can be placed on either one or a number of pages. Common uses for model subnodes would be notes or legends placed on pages for plotting. And the nice thing about this is model information can be individually tailored for each sheet or page, while having a single source of truth for the entire plot set. So imagine having your standard engineering notes placed once in one subnode, and they can be automatically populated on multiple pages within the MPS file. Well, thank you for that, and we will move on to the live demonstration portion of the webinar. Now, the purpose of the live demonstration portion of this webinar is not to give you a full detail of every single setting within the multi-page plot sheet, but rather just to give you an overview of the overall structure and the nodes and the subnodes of the multi-page plot sheet file. When it comes to going through the MPS in more detail, we have a training notes document which goes through each of the MPS settings and parameters in a lot more detail than the webinar, and we'll have a link for this document for all of the webinar attendees posted either today or on the YouTube site. Okay, back into 12D model, we're going to first start off by creating a brand new multi-page plot sheet file. We access via Plots, Multipage Plots, Create. And you're never going to start from scratch, but we're going to do it for the purposes of the webinar today. First thing we're going to do is we're going to enter in a file name where we're going to save this multi-page plot sheet away and be able to recall it at a later date. So I'm going to write that file, and as you can see, it's created a .12d MPSF extension, which can be saved away with the project or in your libraries. Just having a look at the overall structure, we've got the book level, and under book level we have book setups. Now all of these parameters are filled in. You have the name, you have the sheet size of the overall book, whether it's going to be previewed, and we've got this preview panel here which we'll get into in more detail, but first thing first, I'm going to make that a little bit larger so we can see things on site. General settings, whether you want to preview it, active viewport fields, and probably the most important thing to note that if you plot an entire book, you can have the plot mode either as a single PDF file with multiple pages within. You can have multiple files for each of those pages, or you can have multiple PDF files for individual chapters. Now, the PDF file name on a book level and a chapter level and a page level, if there is no file name entered in, it will just create the PDF file with the name of the book or the chapter or the page. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a chapter. Now, in this chapter level, it automatically populates a chapter name, and we have some values here and some settings like sheet size and the preview, which are italic and they're grayed out. If they're italic and grayed out, they're actually getting those parameters from a higher level, being the book level. So we could override the book level settings on a chapter level, and if we wanted to, or we can just allow it to pass down from book to chapter to page. And the chapter plotter setup, again, you can have a single file or a multiple file. You can have your plotter type, which we'll look at a little later on, and you can have a PDF file name that's individualized for this particular chapter. And again, if it's not filled in, it's going to take dynamically the name of the chapter file. And lastly, I'm going to insert a page underneath this chapter. The page has settings which are being brought down from the chapter or the book level, draw widths, and we've got some plotter types here. So that's the main structure of our MPS file, being a book, a chapter, and a page. And at any stage, once you set these up, you can copy and paste chapters or pages, or activate them or deactivate them at any time. So if I go and copy that page and go paste, you can see it's automatically populated to page number 2. If I didn't want that subnode currently active within the MPS file, I could simply deactivate that subnode, and you'll see that that's not being applied. Or if I reactivate it, if I don't want it in its entirety, I can always delete that subnode out of the MPS file. Alright, the next thing we're going to look at is the other types of subnodes that can be applied within the chapter and the pages themselves. The subnodes and the different items within an MPS file are activated up here in the toolbar. First we have title block settings, we have frames, text, symbols, models, and special chapters. And I'll explain those in a brief overview as we go through the webinar. First off, I'm going to look at a text subnode. Now, subnodes, be it title blocks, text, they can be activated or put on a book level, a chapter level, or a page level. So I'm going to place on the book level a piece of text. that will then pass down to all of the pages within all of the chapters. So I'm going to go up and create some text, and I'm going to make it absolute, so it's going to be referenced based on the sheet size. I'm going to place it here, and you'll see that we now have a piece of text or a text subnode underneath a book level. I'm going to give that a name, just so I know what that is. And I'm going to put some text in there being draft. Now if I set that, you'll see it's got, to be honest, some pretty ugly text in the middle of the screen where I've placed it. So I'm just going to go and edit those text properties and make it look exactly how I want to. So I'm going to go to the text properties. I'm going to change that first of all to much larger. I'm going to change the color to something that's going to plot out. And I'm going to make the height, say 35, and give it an angle of 45 degrees. And go set and finish and set. And you'll see that that free place text is on the preview screen that I can then go and edit. And with any subnode, be it a text or a symbol or whatever, you can come and edit that subnode at any time by clicking on the edit option over here. And I'm just going to drag that down until it's reasonably placed on the page or the sheet as I want it. So that is a piece of text on a book level that's going to be passed down to subsequent chapters and subsequent pages. Okay, and looking at other different types of subnodes, this time on a chapter level. So if I expand out this chapter 1, I'm actually going to place a subnode, being a title block, on this chapter level. So I'll go up to the title block and I'm going to create a title block. I'm going to use a title file, go set, and I'm going to pull in a TBF file. And as I mentioned, we're going to have a separate webinar going into more detail of creating and editing title block files, which are reasonably simple. So I'm just going to grab one that's loaded with 12D, just the A3 sheet size. I'm going to hit set, and you'll see that come up in the preview panel being on the A3 piece of paper. Now, anything that you enter into the user text values, or you populate the user text values from a drawing register, will automatically appear on the preview page. So just to save some time, I'm going to copy and paste all of those. I'm going to give it a drawing number of 1000, a sheet number of 1, and I'm going to give it a revision A, and going to hit set. And as soon as I hit set, we'll see those populate up in the preview. The preview panel, you can make it larger or smaller, and depending obviously on the screen resolution and screen size you have, you can go through and look at that in greater detail in either the preview form or in the plotted page. I'm also going to place a different type of subnode on a chapter level so it's passed through to all the pages. I'm going to go up to the chapter level and I'm going to insert a model subnode. Now what I have here is I have some data in a model, and it's placed in its own set of coordinates. And in this case, just for the demonstration purposes, it's a model that's got some typical plotting notes on it. So on the chapter level, I'm going to create a model reference. It's going to be based on the model called notes. And I'm going to place that, say, initially 50 and say 50. And you'll see those notes coming up. I can go and pan these using the pan option, and I can place those exactly on the page where I'm wanting those notes to appear. And those notes will appear on every page within the actual chapter level, which is nice. So you've got a one source of truth editing, one location editing being a model, and that will automatically populate and update on the previews live. So that's a model subnode. Okay, following on from the model subnode, let's go and put some other subnodes on an actual page level. So I'm going to go to page number 1. I'm going to refresh this view so it'll just go and read all of the different subnodes and nodes and subnodes. And I'm going to place a frame. And the frame is what's actually plotted within the actual page itself. So frames and inserting frames is on the frames button, and you can have lots of different frame types, not just your typical old plan plot, which is a plan frame. You can have cross sections and long sections and 3D PDFs and the node diagrams, or you can have references of those particular frames. So I'm just going to do a typical plan type frame. We'll see we have some guidances there. I'm going to pick and accept and pick and accept. Middle mouse button is really important when it comes to frames. And you can see it's installed a frame subnode. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to call this survey done. I'm going to rename it. And you'll see we've got frame settings based on line styles and colors, whether you want it plotted or not plotted, in the draw viewport, yes or no. I'm just going to untick that. And these are all specific to this one frame subnode that's been placed. At any time, you can come and edit those subframes. So click on the edit button and you can change them, move them, do whatever you want to them, and you will place multiple plan frames or combinations of plans and 3D PDFs all on the same page. So that frame, I'll just come back to that. And then I'm actually going to place some subnodes that are referenced to this frame. So whatever happens to the frame, the subnode data is going to change. And in this case, I'm going to insert a symbol subnode, and I'm going to make this symbol subnode relative to a frame. So relative to a frame, choose the frame that I want it relative to. And you'll see in the list that this symbol is a relative or a subnode of the actual frame itself. I'm going to change it to a semi-decent looking north point. And I'm going to change the size to 20. And I'm going to make the position of this symbol relative to the top right hand corner of the frame itself. And so minus 20 millimeters in and minus 20 millimeters down based on the top right hand corner of the frame itself. So whatever happens to that frame, if I go back up to the frame subnode and edit that, if I move this frame subnode over, you'll see that that symbol, which is relative to the frame, is instantly updated. And I'm going to place some more subnodes relative to this frame. In this case, I'm going to place text which is relative to the frame. So if I go relative to the frame here, you'll see the text subnode appear on the list. It's got some simple text that I can just type in. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start using a couple of parameters with regards to the text itself. First things first, let's make it something that looks quite good. Text whiteout, 7 millimeters. And I'm going to make that relative to the bottom center of the frame. Right in the center, 10 millimeters down from the frame. And if I go $frame, which is just a variable which is going to pick up whatever the frame name is and go set, you'll see that that's picked up that survey data text. And I'm going to do a second line. I'm going to put some free text on it. 1, 2. And I'm going to put a variable called $scale. And because that's relative to the frame, it's automatically going to pick up this frame scale. And the positioning is relative, so if I edit the survey data frame, pull that up so it's positioned correctly. And if I change this to, say, survey plan, you'll see the variable text automatically update. And similarly, if I change the frame scale to 500, you'll see that that'll update as well. So you can have subnodes which are relative to other nodes as well. And I guess the next logical step is actually plotting some data. So now that we've got our frame subnodes, it's very simple to actually go and specify some data that you want to plot. Underneath here, I have a view, which is a survey plan, and I'd like to plot the data within that view. So where it says view details, you can either plot based on a view, and if I just go pick view, pick a position in the view that I'd like to plot. That will populate up live in the preview pane. That's a 1 to 500 scale. And at any time I can edit or pan where I want that data to be plotted. So if I select on the pan button and I pan that across, you can see it's a dynamic positioning of the data that's placed in that view. So you can actually specify what you'd like to plot. Now, to plot that page, quite simply, I'm just going to go plot, and then we'll come back and we'll have a look at some of the PDF settings that are plotting on that actual page. So that will just go and run in the background and cut that PDF all together. Right, that's opened up on the screen, and you can see that's the finished result of the plot based on the view that I've selected. Now you notice it's plotted the raster or the aerial photograph in the background, but that aerial photograph and rasters don't actually appear on the preview page, but they do appear in the final plot itself. I'll flick back to 12D. So you can plot whatever is currently turned on and positioned in a view. Just to have a look at that rotation scale, you see that subnode which was relative to the frame, I can actually change the orientation of that view to say 45 degrees. You'll see the data in the preview pane will change, and that linked subnode will also change as well. So if we change that back to 0, and there's different variations of how you want to set up the data that's actually going to plot on the page. In this case, we're just plotting instantaneously what's on a view. So if the model's changed and the multi-page plot sheet is reactivated, then it's just going to take the current data. Or if you don't want to have lots of views sitting around with all of the data and the model set up, you can change that. Rather than plotting the data based on a view, you can base on a view favorite. So if I've got a view favorite set up here, I'd actually like to plot out the plot design view favorite, which has got different models saved away in a favorite file. I can pan that around and I can actually take the position from the favorite file itself, or back again, I can take it from the view position on the frame. And I'll change, there's not much happening there. I'll change that back up to 1000. Now pan that around just to see some data. Okay, so you can plot out dynamically what's inside a view or what's inside a view favorite, and you can get both the positions and the data to be plotted from both of those. All right, let's have a look at some of the PDF settings. First off, I'm going to change that back to our view, and I'm going to change it back to the survey data view, and the scale of 1 to 1000 is fine, and the plot position really doesn't matter. So I'm going to go back up to page number 1, and we're going to have a look at the plotter setup. So the plotter type currently is using the default 12D model PDF writer, and that's going to be applying the pen mapping settings that's either loaded with 12D or loaded in your custom company pmf.4d file. I'm going to change the PDF file to a black and white string weight, and I'm actually going to nominate a PDF file name for when this page is plotted. So I'm going to call the survey sheet 1. I'm going to write those settings back because I haven't for a while. I'm going to regenerate that plot. And whereas before the previous plot we had colors and colors for the strings, this will nominate and appear in a black and white type. We'll just give that a couple of seconds, and you'll see that that's changed the pen settings based on the actual plotter type. One of the last items in the overview, I'm just going to close that PDF file, is the last type of chapters. We have special chapters inside 12D, and as I mentioned in the PowerPoint presentation, that you can use the multi-page plot sheet to control all of the plot types within 12D. So when it comes to frames, you can have plan frames or perspective frames or 3D PDFs, but all of the other PPF types and plotter types within 12D are contained within the special chapters, and you can insert those special chapters being your cross sections and your long section PPF files, your waterlong sections, plot frames, and your node diagrams. So those other typical 12D plot types that you might have been using historically can all be run from within the multi-page plot sheet file or the MPS file as well. One of the beauties of having the multi-page plot sheet as a separate file, and obviously being able to save away, is you never have to start from scratch. Creating plots can be very, very rapid, and creating consistent plots with a company standard can be very quickly done from the plot sheet file. I'm just going to write that file away and give you an indication of how quick it should be, basically not starting from scratch, but creating one from the library. So I'm going to finish off that panel. And I'm going to come back up and reactivate the multi-page plot sheet, but this time work from a file that's already been created. So under Page Plot, Multi-Page Plots Create, I'm going to start off with a multi-page plot sheet that's loaded with 12D version 14 as an example, the V14A3. I'm going to read all that data in, and you'll see all of the nodes and subnodes and chapters and frames are all there set. So page number 1. It's previewed the data straight away, but I can go and reselect that view on that particular plan frame, and I can go plot. So from actually starting from a multi-page plot sheet that's been created previously and is sitting in the user library available for everybody, to generating some output from the live model is actually very, very quick. And I'll just drag that over to the screen. So, that took a matter of seconds, or at the worst case scenario, minutes to quickly create a generated plot. Okay, the last topic that I'd like to review inside this MPS overview is drawing registers. Obviously, you can have some pretty complex multiple page plot sheets or MPS files that can contain multiple chapters and lots of different types of frames, and you want to be able to, I guess, edit all of the details when it comes to the title blocks in a very easy way. And the best way to do that, and look, even if you've only got a couple of pages inside your multi-page plot sheet file, I'll just go, no. We'll have a look at drawing registers. I'm going to reload up a multi-page plot sheet. And in this case, it's the one that's installed with 12D as an example. That has a simple drawing register attached. So if I read that file, it's very similar to the multi-page plot sheet that I just had open. But the difference is the title block is on a book level. So this title block will pass through to all chapters and all pages within the MPS file. If required, you can obviously turn it off on chapters and pages that you don't want it within. But we have an option here called the drawing register. And you can have two types of drawing registers. You can either have it from an Excel sheet or from a CSV file, which we find is much more flexible because you don't have to worry about whether you've got the correct 64-bit Microsoft Office loaded and so on and so forth. So we supply a couple of example drawing register files with 12D version 14. So I'm just going to activate that. I'm going to open it up. And it's a very simple CSV file. The other one is a lot more involved, but you can see the items within the actual title block that will be populated can be saved and controlled and manipulated within a CSV file, and that changes to those CSV files are instantly re-referenced back inside the multi-page plot sheet file. So this is just a brief overview. We'll have another webinar, I should say, going into more detail with regards to the drawing registers. So I'm just going to set that. Now if I go back up to chapter 1 and I go to page 1, I'll just refresh that view. You'll see that the data that's being populated within the title block file is coming directly from the CSV file, and the user title info is being drawn from particular columns within the drawing register. So really anything with more than a couple of sheets, it's probably much easier to manipulate and control all of that title block data from within a drawing register file. Okay, so that pretty much concludes the webinar for the overview of the multi-page plot sheet. I'll pass back to Lisa, and we'll take any of your questions from any of the attendees. Thank you, Lisa.
Got a few questions through actually from people during the presentation, but firstly, I've got one. The multi-page plot sheets versus multi-page plots. So I've noticed this slight difference in the terminology in different places, and just wondered if you could explain a little bit more about that for me.
Yeah, you'll see that I kind of alternate between them. We brought in the beginning for this plotting in version 12, and in version 12 it was called a multi-page plot sheet file, and that could handle one sheet. And then with version 14, obviously we've gone absolutely mad with all of the things that it can do, and it can control chapters and multiple pages. And I unfortunately still refer to it a lot as the multi-page plot sheet, which is the version 12 terminology. We've kept the terminology MPS so it doesn't get too confusing.
Sure.
But in 14, the MPS actually stands for multi-page plots, and the S being, or multi-plots, the S is a plural for the plot. So it's still an MPS, but the correct terminology in version 14 is multi-page or multi-plots, because it's a combination of all of those things, and you'll see that reflected on the menu item for version 14.
Okay, great. That clears that up. Thank you. And gosh, where to start? Got lots here. Uday in ACT has asked, does plan view show the correct coordinates when you click on any point?
The selection area in the preview of the multi-plots isn't really selectable for any elements inside 12D. It's just a pure automated reflection of either the view favorite or the view itself. So most 12D users would have the preview on one screen, and they'd have their actual 12D interface on the other screen, and have the view that's currently active and being live live reference through to the frame, which will have all of your coordinates on it. But when you do produce the PDF file, all of the planned PDFs inside 12D now, when you plot them out, they are geo-referenced. So you could even open that PDF file in a PDF editor or PDF viewer, and you would be able to see the correct spatial coordinates in them.
Okay, sure. And Uday had another couple of questions actually. So, can I use any title block from CAD with a company logo?
Absolutely. The session that we're going to do with the webinar, it's very quick to essentially read in a DWG file from CAD and produce that as a 12D TBF file. We'd obviously make it a little bit smarter. So where you're manually typing something in as an attribute, we'd make that an automated, what's called a parameter file or a title block user-defined value. And that's really what takes the time, is changing the text from plain old text to a dollar variable. And we'll go through that in real detail in our webinar. But I would say, it's a matter of everything that you have in a typical CAD file, you can have absolutely inside your TBF file, including logos and JPEGs and bitmaps and all that.
Okay, great. And can I have 2 frames in the plot with plan and long section?
Absolutely. You arrange the composition within the sheet size. So I know a lot of our users who are adopting this, they like having the plan in the left-hand side of the sheet, and they can have a 3D PDF frame on the other half of the sheet. So it produces almost like a dynamic orbiting around 3D result of what's shown in the plan view. And you can have frames over the top of each other. The order in the list is the order that they're plotted, so you can control that very easily within the interface. So if you wanted a blow-up subframe on top of the rest of the data, I didn't go through it in too much detail, but there's an option to white out a frame, so it would basically obscure any of the data underneath that frame. So you can have as many frames as you like to provide the composition of what you actually want for your plotted output.
Okay, and Mia and Victoria said, what if I have to flip or twist my view?
You actually flip and twist the settings within the preview. I know there are a very small percentage of users of 12D that actually do change the view settings. That, I guess, is just a slightly different way of doing it. You'd have your view based on real world coordinates, and it's so much quicker and easier just to modify the position and the angle or the orientation of the preview itself or the frame, and it will dynamically update from whatever's in the true coordinate view.
Sure. And she was also asking, can we print these sheets directly to the plotter?
No, the landing is a PDF, and that PDF is, I guess, very standard because we do a lot of complex compilation in the background from 3D data to plan views, and so the engine underneath the MPS, it produces all those all together, compiles them all on one PDF file, and that's the actual resulted output. So when you saw me click on the plotter types, the only plotter types that were available from the MPS, which was the PDF, and it's, I guess, our thinking, it's very simple just to have that PDF and go print from there to your actual printer. And then you also get a digital record of what you plotted out at that particular point in time.
Sure. Simon in New Zealand has asked, can you set the north arrow to show north automatically?
That is precisely what I did by having that north or that symbol referenced or relative to a frame that is always showing true north or wherever you place that symbol. So when you change the orientation of the preview frame itself, that north point automatically rotates through and always points to, I guess, the north from your underlying data in your model.
Cool, okay. We've got one here from Sterling. Is there a way to see the raster image in the plotter preview?
No, that's one thing that for speed and for, I guess, stability, the polygons, there's a couple of things in the preview. You'll see polygons if it's a filled polygon. In the preview, you'll see the entire polygon itself, so it looks like it goes outside the plotted frame. But no, we don't dynamically show the rasters. Again, I guess historically people are always looking at the view data inside 12D, and you can have multiple views open, and the plotted output of the preview is just taking what's on the view. So, one side you'll have your preview and the other side you'll see that the rest is on. So no, it doesn't actually show the preview The rest is in the preview there, and that's really just for speed and accessibility.
Okay, Phil in Sydney said, can you bring frame positions in from CAD?
I don't know the answer to that question. I've never had to do it. When you have a frame or place a frame in the preview, it actually, you can type in a model name in that parameter. So it actually creates in 12D a model that you can turn on in any 12D model plan view that dynamically has that rectangular shape and the position of that frame. There's no simple way to basically pick another rectangular frame, but because you do have that ability to live show, you can pick the bottom coordinate, and we've got all the measure tools in there. So whilst we don't take them directly from what's in a DWG, because that could be basically anywhere, it would be pretty quick just to use the XY coordinate pick that's in the interface in the MPS and the point-to-point bearing measure, so you can select it directly from your live view data.
Sure. One from Nkomo Zumbango said, please confirm that I can use MPS for plotting cross-section views, and is it possible to plot these onto a view rather than PDF plots?
Not if you're using the MPS. So the cross-section views, you will be just referencing the exact same plot parameter file that you've set up for the cross-sections, and that special chapter inside the MPS will just produce exactly what's set inside that PPF file. The title block is taken over, and the title block information, the one in the PPF file is ignored, and that's totally controlled within the MPS. So what I do is I plot to model the actual underlying PPF file. So that's my preview. I can change all of the settings. I can get everything exactly how I want it to. So because it's reading that same PPF file, and you know exactly what it's going to look like after plotting to model, and then you put that as a special chapter, reference that same PPF file, hit the plot button, and what spits out of the MPS would be exactly all of the settings that you've already previewed from running the PPF in a separate instance. And it's just a much quicker way than, I guess, traditional drafting, where you have to place a plan frame and then move that plan frame over the top of plotted model data. You can still do that if you want to, but if you're looking at 50 pages of cross sections, you just simply reference the plot parameter file, choose the title block settings, and hit go, and those 50 pages will automatically plot out of one special chapter.
Okay. Tony has asked, how do you deal with plan and profiles along a long control line with regard to viewport setup?
The data is purely just, if you were doing that, I would actually do the plot frame type of generation inside 12D, because there's some pretty clever features. I know we're looking at it for the MPS, but in the plot frames, you can place plot frames along a string, and that's automatically, places those plot frames. And one of the special chapter types in the MPS is plot frames. So you could continue that along a long alignment, whilst we don't dynamically, if you want the bottom half of the plotted page to be a section plot, that would still take a little bit of manual manipulation, like you have to do anyway in traditional CAD formats. But when it comes to let's say you've got 10 kilometers and you want to do a 1 to 500 sheet, you can do the plot frames along a string. That'll place 20, 30, 40, 50 plot frames along that alignment, which you can then manipulate, set up, and then use that as a special chapter output. And the advantage of that is you don't end up with 50 items on the tree on the left-hand side. You end up with one special chapter item, which is referencing that plot frames model.
Sure. And Rodney, one from Rodney, can a grid be added to the plan using the MPS?
Not within the preview. Again, it's a thing of the live data. So we've got 3 or 4 really neat little options in 12D that automatically can add a wheeled grid into a model that you specify. I think it's under CAD drafting in version 14. And because you can produce a model of the dynamic frame that you can turn on in any views within the MPS, you can use that rectangular frame that's inside a model to run the create wheel grid generation position. So it's very quick and easy, but the data inside the model, inside the views, is what's being generated from the plot. So not on top of the preview itself, it will be in the live data in its own model.
Sure. And I've got a couple of questions about future webinars. So with the advanced features in this and
Yes.
the drawing registers, I think you mentioned.
Yes.
So I guess that's we will have maybe 1 or 2 more sessions on this kind of topic to advance it.
Yes, certainly. And within that PDF file that's posted inside the handouts of the current webinar today, that goes through in more detail the drawing registers, how they operate, and the rules behind that if somebody doesn't want to wait for the next webinar and they want to get into that straight away. And if version 14C to G, we have 2 types of example CSV drawing registers and multi-MPS files that are installed under the lib inside 12D. So if you've got C2G and above, then you can absolutely go and start seeing how those work and have a live example.
Great. Are you happy to do? We've got a few more questions. I might just take a couple more live if you're okay for time at the moment.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right. So Mohammed has asked, when you pick up the detailing and plot into your frame, are we able to view every detail on the drawing?
View every detail on the drawing? Yes, it's pretty much what you see is what you get. If you've referenced a frame to a view, whatever is activated and turned on in that view, apart from resters, will automatically appear in the preview. And similarly, if you've entered in either user-defined text in the title block or it's referencing a drawing register, it's a what you see is what you get type of situation.
Okay, and Bernard has said, can I drag the frame over the data rather than drag around the data in the frame?
Yes, you can. So in the MPS file, actually, you guys will be seeing my screen. I won't go into too much detail. I'll just stop presenting this if I can. Just fire up that PPF editor very quickly, that MPS, one that I did. So what I've talked about in an answer to a couple of those questions, when it comes to a frame, you can specify here a model for the frame. Now that model will create live data. And because that model creates a superstring rectangle, you can use your CAD move option and you can dynamically move that frame in the 12D view and it will update the position. You'll see that instantly updating in the position or the panning of your preview in the MPS. So you can do it the other way. Yes, you can position based on the model data where you want it to be.
Okay, so you can have as many frames as you want on the one page, even overlapping ones?
Yes,
Great.
Absolutely, yes. Yep. The only limitation, the frame is rectangular. Okay, so you can't have a funky circular shape or polygonal shape for the actual size of the frame. We do a lot more clever things, and one of the restrictions is the frame's rectangular. But
Sure.
You can change that based on whiteout. Yeah.
No heart shapes or anything yet.
No.
Bernard also asked, can the PDF output handle layers in the PDF file?
Yes, that is automatic inside 12D. I'll now double check it on the MPS file that I've produced. That modified plot page, right? So if I go into here, minimize that. I know the plot frames definitely have layers. Oh, now getting around here. I'll double check it on the MPS because rather than waste everybody's time, I can't actually find the layers button. The plot frames definitely plot out in layers, and my understanding is the MPS does the same, but I could be wrong on that. That's one thing that I can absolutely double check and answer later on via an email.
Okay, no problem. I'll email these through to you as well so that we can
yeah, great. I'll follow that up.
And so Phil has asked, can you use formulas inside a CSV file to concatenate values?
Yes. Yep. Yes, absolutely. We do have some clever things for that as well, but if you've got a drawing register, it is literally just populating the data from the particular nominated column inside their CSV file? So the answer to that would be yes, it should be whatever is in the CSV file column in the cell will be what is populated onto the MPS page.
Okay, and another one from the other Phil. If I had a symbol or text at chapter level, can I stop showing it on one particular page?
100% yes. Yep. And anything there, you can deactivate those on whatever sheet that you like. So I'll go back to the one that I created, read that. So if I've got on a book level the data, that will automatically turn on page number 2. What I can do is I can just reference that previously done model data on page number 2, and we just turn that off. We literally just deactivate that, and so that node or subnode can be on pages 1, 3, 5, and 6, but you can deactivate it or turn it off on any page that you want to. And you see that within the actual tree structure of the MPS itself.
Okay.
So anything on a book level can be turned off on a page or on a whole chapter level.
Sure. And I had one more through from Mohammed. Are we able to design any length of trunk road? Yeah, and it says in the practice, so I'm not sure if that's in the practice version or if that's in this version. But yeah, lengths of any length of trunk road. Yeah.
The practice version will be version 9, so you won't have MPS, and the practice version 9 is limited to 5,000 points.
Yeah.
So I would absolutely recommend you get in touch with your local distributor and see whether there's some other solution we can come up to allow you guys to practice on version 14. There's some things in the background that we may be able to do for you.
Sure. And we might just do one more live today. Melanie has asked, sure, can you use relative symbol like north point on a multi-plot frame? So special chapter.
Yes. On a special chapter, that's on a special chapter that's defined. Yes, you can. That's defined within the actual PPF file itself. On any PPF file, say for example plot frames, under the title block subnode, under symbols, you can actually define those to rotate with a plot, yes or no. So outside of the MPS, but if it's just a simple plan production that you're doing, you do exactly what I've done here and have that symbol subnode relative to the actual frame itself.
I'll just quickly.
And with a separate PPF file that, yeah, sure.
Sorry, carry on with finish that one.
Oh no, that's great. I was just going to say, so the PPF file won't pick up the orientation of the frame that you place the special chapter, but it will pick up the orientation of the actual data that you're plotting out of that frame, if that makes sense. So it should automatically orientate to true north.
Okay, yes. Melanie's responded, yep, that makes it clear, so that's fantastic. And just while we're on sort of chapters and pages, Austin was asking about renaming the chapters and pages so that you can change the names on those.
Oh, very, very simply. So if I wanted to change a page name and I wanted that followed on, I can literally just go into that particular page subnode and change the page name here, survey sheet 1. And that page name has been changed, which will then flow through to the PDF file names and any references that you've put that. So where I've got onto here under text, I've got the dollars frame. What I could actually do is I could actually just say the dollars page and go set, and that will automatically populate the variable from the page name as opposed to the frame name. And you can change those on the fly and see those on the tree very easily. And there's lots of variables that we can populate through.
The questions from people, but I might get you to send them through. I'll send them through by email because they could be things to expand on. So we'll get back to people shortly on that. And yeah, the recording of today's webinar will be available in coming days. So yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, we'll have that on the webinars page of our website and on the 12D Model YouTube channel. And we'll email out the link. I'm going to put together an email for everyone who's registered, and I'll send out that handout on that email as well if anyone's missed out on downloading it or if they weren't able to get it or able to attend. And yeah, if you need to contact us in the meantime, we've got those details on the screen. So that concludes our presentation for today. Thank you to everyone for attending and for all your great questions, and we hope to see you at future webinars.